So, namaste, you wonderful viewers of the diaspora and the Indian subcontinent. This is your host, Ankit Shah for Sanatan Shakti. And today, again, we are honored to have Major General GD Bakshi with us. And we are going to have the security dialogue for the Indian subcontinent today again. As we start, may I request each one of you to mute your audio and feel free to raise your hands for asking questions at the end of the discussion. We will pick a few at the end of the discussion. So, welcome Major General Gagandeep Bakshi, sir.
Thank
Privileged to have you again, sir. And we start the security dialogue with the latest that 2611 has just gone yesterday. And we
you.
cannot forget respecting the valiant warriors who fought the terrorists over there. So, in that memory, let us begin with a question. This particular 2611 attack, this was a understandable attack on a Parsi hotel and a Jewish chabad house. Parsi and Jews both, saving both of them, Hindus take pride in. And this group was wearing Hindu stuff. And then 2 years down the line, we found a book coming out on Hindu terror. Sir, what is your take on this entire thing?
This was, firstly, I'd like to salute all the victims, all the martyrs of the 2611 attack. 166 Indian and foreign citizens, Israeli, American, etc., perished in this dastardly attack. And we lost Major Sandeep Unni Krishnan. He was the only son of his parents. I know his parents well, and my heart bleeds for them. He was their only child. Then, of course, there is Naik Omble from the army who joined the police force later. And as a constable, he grappled with Ajmal Amir Kasab. And despite getting 23 bullets on his chest, he held on to him and we were able to capture him. And he laid down his life, but he enabled us to capture alive one of the terror perpetrators. This was a great help because with the help of David Headley, Coleman Headley, the American who was pimping for the Pakistanis, he had brought from Mumbai, he had made repeated reconnaissance trips to Mumbai, photographed all the targets, ingratiated himself with a number of these people, and and then he went back with the Mauli thread, the one that you and I tie on our wrist.
Yep.
And these were given to the attackers, and they were given Hindu identity papers from Hyderabad. So the whole aim was that they were all. The plan was that they would all get killed, but they would create chaos and mayhem in the maximum city of Mumbai, the financial capital of India, held it hostage for 4 days. It was despicable performance. And this was the time when India should have hit back and hit back hard. We had a whole range of options. The Air Force Chief, Fali Homi Major, Air Chief Marshal Fali Homi Major, had told the government he was ready. Just give me the targets and give me the go ahead. But the government did not. The government did not. There was a plethora of options that we had. Uh, Airstrikes on the terror camp, cruise missile strikes on the terror camp, naval attacks on Karachi, naval attacks on the D Company headquarters, which had helped the logistics of this whole operation. Fire assaults on the line of control, attacks across the border, whether IB or LC, limited attacks, and we had a plethora of options. But the then government did absolutely nothing. They just pleaded with the Pakistani courts like supplicants, begging them to take action, and which they just treated with callous contempt. They sent kilotons of dossiers and they threw them into the dustbin. They did not even take them officially on charge, the Pakistani court. I mean, it was the deep state in Pakistan, the army, ISI, which had recruited these terrorists, armed and trained them. and financed them and then infiltrated them into India via the sea. We were fully justified in the right of hot pursuit to attack the home launch base of Karachi. We had all the radio communications with which they were directing the terrorists minute by minute. And a tamasha was made out of it. There were 2-3 army battalions in Mumbai. They were not used. They were ordered to just, surround the hotels and wait for the National Security Guard. National Security Guard also comprises of army personnel. And it was a despicable situation. Those two units in Mumbai then had fought in Jammu and Kashmir. Why could they not have been used to finish these terrorists? Why did we have to wait 24 hours while the then Home Minister kept changing his dresses? He wanted to come and the media would catch him in full light. And the whole counter-terrorist operation was delayed because he wanted to come in with the National Security Guard, the Black Cat Commando, the then disaster of a Home Minister. And the Indian Home Secretary of the Home Ministry was in Islamabad. And they had organized a trip for them to see Abbottabad and some hill stations, and they were totally out of communication. They were not available in India. I mean, it was well planned. And then when we did nothing primarily on American pressure. Please don't forget. And the Americans have said so openly that they leaned very hard on the Indian government not to retaliate. And we succumbed to that pressure. And that pressure was because Pakistan was fighting in, Pakistan was helping the logistics through Quetta and Peshawar for the American forces fighting in Afghanistan. And therefore, they wanted to keep Pakistan in good humor. They did not want Pakistan to be disturbed. So they told India that, forget it, you lost 165 people, just too bad. Now lump it and keep quiet and grin and bear it. And that's what we did. I mean, that is a disgrace. It is
Sir,
the
sorry to interrupt you. Sir,
Uh.
sorry to interrupt you, but I think as per the theory going on the media and so many other people are saying that at that time Congress government or Congress alliance government was involved in planning this one, and they were deeply involved. They were their hands were there into that, right? So how they will act? They were there. They wanted to treat this as a Hindu terror attack. That's why they did not act, and they let Indian people die. Hindu people die.
That is precisely the problem. The simple fact is that when they came under tremendous pressure from the United States, they of course decided not to act. Some elements of the state were complicit with this attack plan. I mean, there is just no other interpretation that you can have. And then when they came under tremendous public pressure for not doing anything, for taking it with such pusillanimity, then they came out with this very, very pernicious narrative that it was all a Hindu terror activity and that it was the whole assault. The book was already ready, and that is what I am saying. Thank God, Kumble, though he sacrificed his life, he caught
Ajmal Kasab.
Ajmal
Ajmal
Kasab
Kasab alive. He caught him alive, and the whole plot was unraveled. And the whole plot was, the whole beans were spilt, and it was Pakistan, and it was these people from Pakistan who had done it, and they were wearing the sacred thread. Don't forget, about 2 years before the attack, very pernicious, there was that film by Shah Rukh Khan, Main Hoon Na. I wonder if you saw it. And that started propagating the concept of Hindu terror. And that was then picked up. All the Hindus are behind it, the Hindus have done it, and there were some officers from the army who was caught, and poor fellow, he was tortured almost to death.
Colonel Purohit
was imprisoned, kept behind bars, tortured in a very, very shameful manner. It is amazing the depths to which you can sink To save your skin, to deflect the public pressure, you come out with this theory of Hindu terror when the whole world knew who had done it. And Ajmal Amir, Kasab had been caught, they still tried to palm it off onto Hindu terror. I mean, the whole thing unraveled. The whole thing unraveled. People who do such low down things, they were caught out. They were caught out, and that is why that was the beginning of the end of the UP. Let me be blunt and straightforward. Because
So,
the
And
people of
sir,
India
one
thought
thing
we had
I
enough.
want you to give the message to our people, Indian people, that why they don't recognize such people and why they are voting for them. Why they are not kicking them on their butt and kick them onto the Arabian Sea. Why they are voting for them.
No. Please don't forget that there is a majority government of the NDA now in power, and a huge majority, almost 3/4 majority. So that the chances of this Congress dispensation, sold out dispensation, ever coming back are now
very
serious
less.
question mark.
Yep.
The
So,
people of India have punished them. It is a
so,
democracy and it is a functional democracy. So you can't get away with things like this.
so it was clearly, sir, readable that when Indians take pride in saving the Jews and Parsis that it had done in the past, they particularly attacked a Parsi-led hotel and a Jewish chabad house because they wanted to show it as that Hindu terror thing. So the elements in governance were definitely hands in glove with them.
No, you see, the simple fact is the Jewish angle can be straight away attributed to the jihadi hatred for Israel and India, the
Yeah.
two eyes, which are the only bulwarks against Islamic extremism, jihadi terrorism. So quite obviously their choice of target was that. They even killed a few American citizens in the bargain.
Yeah.
And the simple fact is that the United States, when they were struck, when they had a mass casualty terror strike in their country on 9/11, they retaliated savagely and bombed Afghanistan back to the Stone Age. Absolutely. And why then these double standards? Why this hypocrisy when India was struck? And all this hogwash theory that Pakistan is a nuclear state and we can do
Bluff.
nothing was deliberate propaganda.
Yep.
Deliberate, excuses doled out to do nothing. The simple fact is in 1999, the NDA government had fought a 3-month war against Pakistan, to the limited conventional war. And it went on for 3 months. How many nuclear bombs landed on Delhi then? I mean, we had called the Pakistani bluff. The Pakistani bluff was again called when in 2016, the present NDA government carried out the surgical strike at Uri. The Pakistani bluff was properly called when in 2019 we had the Pulwama incident where 45 Indian paramilitary forces personnel were killed. We retaliated across the border by sending 12 Mirage 2000 aircraft who went in 80 kilometers deep and bombed the blazes out of the camp at Balakot. What happened there? Nothing. What nuclear bomb? The whole hoax. There was a whole sold out set of people trying to suck up to the Americans and trying to let down India so badly, and they were almost complicit in that attack. And the pusillanimous way in which they went sucking about the Pakistani courts. And then just about 2 years later, they won the elections amazingly. And they went to Shahram al-Sheikh, the then Prime Minister, to say that India was equally guilty of terror across the border. What nonsense!
True.
I mean, it is one of the lowest movement of the Indian state, despicable, pusillanimous behavior in not caring for the lives of your citizens, and not 1 or 2 or 5 or 6. Talking of 166 innocent citizens killed.
So, sir, taking this lead forward,
1 second.
yeah. The audio is, yeah. So, sir, taking this lead forward, a very interesting development has happened in last 1 week. We, yeah,
Hello, sorry.
yes, sir. So, sir,
Beta.
very interesting development has happened in the last week, and that is Jitendra Singh, who's the Minister of State in the Prime Minister's office. He has talked about POK as the next agenda, and parallel to that, we have had Bhagwat ji talking that partition needs to be cancelled out. So, what's your take on this?
These are encouraging signs that we are prepared now to give it back to Pakistan for all that it has been doing to India. Like I said earlier, for 30 years, Pakistan has waged an unrelenting, unremitting, asymmetric war against India, first in Punjab, then in Jammu and Kashmir. In Punjab, we lost 21,000 citizens, soldiers, citizens. Then when we managed to bring Punjab under control, they shifted the problem to J&K. We lost another 45,000 and still counting. 1993 onwards, they started the bombing campaign in the cities and towns of India. They struck Delhi, they struck Mumbai, Ahmedabad, Gujarat, Bangalore, Calcutta, you name it.
Cities after cities.
50,000 were killed. So about 80,000 Indians have been sacrificed to this asymmetric war by Pakistan. It's about time that the Indian state paid them back in the same coin and did something big. And for that, we have to build up our military strength. But, the UPA for 10 years had stopped buying any weapon. All they were interested in buying was the VVIP helicopters, which the American president found too expensive. And they wanted not one, but 12. And then we found out the sting in the tail. They were pretending to be holier than thou. No corruption, no this, no that. Where every deal it was mired in corruption. So the simple fact is that they neglected the defense. We were very hopeful that the present government would undo that damage, would speed up our military build-up. They have taken a lot of steps. The CDS is in place. That has speeded up the procurement process. But yet, it had to go much faster. The bureaucrats have been putting spokes in the wheel and trying to slow it down as much as possible. We must understand that never in India's independent history has the threat been so high from external and internal sources, both from the China, Pakistan combined, from Taliban, from Turkey, and now from the Maoists and jihadis within India. So we have to stop economizing now on military. If we have to spend, you have to spend to save yourself. If you don't, you may have problems. But thank God the government is now gotten its act together. The Rafales have come in. The LCA is trickling in. Now the S-400 missiles have come in. They will be a game changer. They will be a game changer. Serious game changer. Very especially with Pakistan. So let them come in and then we'll see. 100 sonar ki, ek lohar.
And at this point, when Imran Khan clearly says that we cannot run Pakistan, while IMF denies the last bailout package also to Pakistan. So
Pakistan is a sinking state. It is not a state. It is the Pakistani military that owns a state. They have been overspending profligate expenditure to keep match up military build up with India. And in the bargain, they have torpedoed and destroyed their economy. They are borrowing from Peter to pay Pan. And one push by India, one military push will send this Pakistani state down, flush it down the tube of history. So I think we should strike at the appropriate time and teach Pakistan a lesson it will never forget. There is the only way to solve this problem, because here is a viciously idiotic country. ना चैन से जिएंगे ना जीने देंगे किसी भी नेबर के साथ उनकी पड़ती है. With Afghanistan they have captured Afghanistan, imposed a drug mafia, a terror mafia in charge in Kabul, which is slaughtering its own people. Afghanistan is facing famine. Pakistan cannot feed itself, and it is now planning to take care of another uh,
Vassal state.
basket case in Afghanistan. Famine is about to break out there. Famine, total collapse of law and order, total collapse of administration, civic amenities. I mean, there are two sinking states in Pakistan and Afghanistan, and it is all Pakistan's doing. So this is a mad dog country. जैसे पागल कुत्ते को गोली मारनी पड़ती है. That will be the only answer left for the world.
Sir,
Iran.
I would like to give you some more information here. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I happened to meet some Baluchis and Sindhis in London.
Right.
And Baluchi and Sindhi government in exile is on the way. Maybe it will be formed in India or somewhere else. That is, work is on the way. So many people are good people involved and things are taking place. Our brave Sardar Ravi Ranjan ji also involved into that and things are working. So probably in few months time, you will see a government in exile for the Baluchistan and Sindh.
That's long overdue.
Yeah, it
That
is
is
long
long
overdue.
overdue.
India is not taking the
People-
initiative, so people like us are taking the
Uh-huh.
initiative. India government should take the initiative, but India government is not taking the initiative, so we are doing this.
Well, if the people who have to do it don't do it, then somebody else will certainly have to take the initiative, take courage in both hands to help. You see, India is a democracy.
Lots
And
of
we should-
discussion is taken place. Lots of discussion. Bakshishat, you will be very proud of us, our efforts. Lots of discussion has taken place. Lots of discussion.
No, I'm very grateful to hear that, but for the poor suffering people of Baluchistan, for the poor suffering people of Sindh, my heart bleeds. My heart bleeds. And I think it's time for India to repeat Bangladesh because there is no other way to stop the terror offensive against us. People, for after we did the Balakot airstrike, for 22 months, Pakistan was absolutely quiet and on its best behavior, as much as it can. Because when we removed Article 35A, when we removed 370, Pakistan could not do a damn physically. All it could do was talk and complain in all the world, fora here, there, it made noise and then it quietly settled down. That is when China started the problem in Ladakh. The message was to Pakistan, please keep up your asymmetric war against India. Please keep India tied down because we are there to help you. Don't worry. If India attacks you in retaliation, we will help you. We are putting military pressure on Ladakh. ये दूसरी बात है कि उल्टे बांस बरेली को पड़ गए लद्दाख में भी and they cut a sorry figure, but they are still at it. Because China is very cleverly waging biological warfare against the world, did it against India. About 5 million people are dead. The global economy is in ruin. Thank God India has emerged out of the second wave. Now there is a third wave already raging across Europe. And you are closer to the epicenter of that third wave. America has just chickened out. Joe Biden doesn't want to take any action against China. He tried to hold talks with China where he almost, as Mike Pompeo says, got bullied. So the whole world was looking upon the United States to take China to task for what it has done to the world. Waged biological warfare. And Russia is suffering. Europe is suffering. Eastern Europe, Western Europe, they are all paying a price. But nobody wants to squeak. Because China has now become a power in its own right. And China is challenging the might of the United States, and the United States has just disgraced itself in Afghanistan. People are asking if they could not fight the Taliban, how will the United States summon up the will to fight China and Russia together? Together, if you please. Henry Kissinger had said it should be settled maxim of American foreign policy never to take on more than one major Asian power at a time. Now, America wants to take on both Russia and China together, drive them together. I thought that is, from geopolitical standpoint, a very, very disastrous kind of a stance to take. You are forcing all your antagonists to combine and come again, fight you together. Russia lacked technology. China is now giving the technology. And let me tell you, China is a far greater threat than Russia ever was. So here is a country which has first matched you financially and is now turning that financial muscle into military muscle. The Chinese Navy is already the biggest Navy in the world. They outnumber the American Navy by a good margin. And they are going ahead with their air force, now with Russian help, because you have driven Russia and China together. And when America threatens to fight Russia and China together, I mean, the world is very skeptical. If this is the way you ran from the Taliban, well, what faith can somebody have that you will stand up? And all those who support you, you won't let them down. Quad, shot, etc. is all very well, but they look more like talk shops.
True. So CCP had its plenary starting somewhere around 8th November. And one of the important outcomes which has come from that discussion is that Jinping has clearly declared that joining back Taiwan is an important element of Chinese rejuvenation and a part of, writing off a century of humiliation that they had. And then we now come to know about a new mutant in South Africa. Looks like Jinping has, someone as a leader selected who have gone through a childhood trauma is a very dangerous leader to have.
But that's exactly what it is. Look, the Chinese army has not fought a war for the last 42 years. The last war that they fought was with Vietnam, in which they came out second best. They got a bloody nose. Since then, they haven't fought. Their population is aging. They have a one-child policy, because of which they can't get recruits for their military. So they are carrying out conscription, forced recruitment. They take you in for 4 years. And these princelings, if I was the only child of my parents, firstly, they were never send me to the army.
Yeah.
And then I would be so spoiled brat,
Pampered,
that I would never take up to the military discipline and the military tough life. And that is precisely what is the problem. These princelings do not want to fight. So China is now trying to fight the world with viruses, with biological warfare. And the ridiculous fact is the global economy has been virtually destroyed. Russia is sick and still the ally of China. Europe is sick. America is sick. It is now spreading to their children. Yet they don't have the gumption to call out China. And one new virus after another, they will keep spreading. You get over one, they'll start the next. You get over that, they have 1,500 viruses in the Wuhan Institute of Virology. This is China's dirty way of fighting.
And they are inviting people for Olympics forcibly.
If the world wants to fall sick, then they'll go to the
Olympics.
global, to the Beijing Olympics, because from there they'll come back with so many pathogens and so many more pandemics. The Chinese have gone mad because they can't fight an honorable way, the normal conventional war. They are now waging biological warfare against the world, and the world is lumping it. Biden Saab is lumping it. With the disastrous performance that he did against the Taliban, who will now trust him as an ally in war? Which country in the world? I mean, the Europeans are very upset. The NATO allies are very upset. They're all going their different way. France is very angry. And then you want to push all your enemies together. You want to push Russia into the arms of China. And you think you can take them on both. well, then we should have done better against the Taliban.
There's a question whether it even wants to take on China, because looks like the US deep state has vested interest and looks itself as a logical extension of the Chinese Communist Party itself.
Well, there are some very disturbing indications. This year, February, we got news that one of the top Chinese State Security Bureau personnel had defected, and he had come out with a lot of secrets about how deep the penetration of the United States, top organs of state, the CIA, the others, Pentagon, this, that, and the other, they seem to be deeply penetrated. So people were awaiting the news of all that penetration, but something seems to have gone absolutely quiet on that angle. And we all know that Biden's son is trading, has deep business relationship with China. So the Chinese have deep pockets. They are buying people in the United States, right, left, and center. They are carrying out industrial espionage, military espionage. They are ferreting out secrets, technological, military technology secrets, and they are going up technologically. They are trying to now take a lead. And this was the only time when China is still not reached its goal. Once it is fully ready, then the United States can forget it. But this is the time if they want to really do something to stop the rise of China as a global superpower. This is the time they have. And I mean, here we have Joe Biden talking, he wants to cut deals with the Chinese. So God help the United States, God help the rest of us.
So, sir, if this is the kind of withdrawal the United States is going to have in terms of diplomacy and military, then four clear boiling points we can see in terms of security perspective today. One is Russia and Ukraine. Second is India and POK. Third is Israel and the Iranian regime. And fourth is China and Taiwan.
And add a fifth, India, Ladakh, India, Arunachal Pradesh.
Okay.
So these are flashpoints from where a conflict could erupt, spin out of control. But the good news is that India by itself is now big enough. Even if the United States does not help, all that we need, we don't want American boots on the ground after that disastrous performance in Afghanistan. We are capable of taking care of ourselves and giving it back as good as we get. We have 1.4 billion people, the youngest population in the world. And if you have a combination of India, Japan, Vietnam, we are adequate to take care of China in Asia. We need nobody else, especially not a state which has done a disastrous withdrawal in Afghanistan. Yeah. Because they'll have to show some spine, some muscle before the rest of the world can trust America again. And all that we need from the United States is technology. And I'm sorry to state, they don't want, for some reason, to give you cutting-edge technology.
They don't want to share.
They gave F-35s to Japan. They did not even offer them to us. They are giving nuclear submarines to Australia. They did not even offer them to us. So quite obviously, we have to bank on Russia. Russia is prepared to give us leased nuclear submarines. Russia is prepared to give us cutting-edge S-400 missiles, which have now started coming in despite American threats of Karsa and the other. And I don't know what the United States is doing. It doesn't seem to know who are its friends and who are its enemies. And if this is the way you treat your friends, then it may be better to have enemies.
So the best support that United States can do is just to keep its mouth mum when we go for what we want. I think that would be the best support.
No, because you see, we badly needed, because of the UPA era, 10 years they didn't buy a single fighter plane.
Purposely.
So there was a disastrous decline in our squadron strength. We had to make it up, and now we've got the S-400 missiles. And the S-400 missiles is a missile system that can be used offensively against Pakistan. Sitting in India, we can destroy the Pakistani Air Force, any plane that takes off.
Yeah.
The world must understand that.
Yeah.
And let our 5 regiments come in and we'll show Pakistan what life is. You know, they're again trying to finger India in Jammu and Kashmir, in Punjab. They need to be taught a lesson. They need to be taught a lesson that China will not save them. Did China save them in 1971?
No.
And that's what I say. Please watch Republic TV in India. It is carrying the Shaurya series of war documentaries with me and my son have done together on India's war since independence. It started about 2 weekends ago. The
Yes, sir.
English, they are into the 3rd episode. They will be talking of the 1965 war today. Please watch it on Republic TV English 1965 war, and on Republic Bharat, the Hindi channel. Please see the first episode of Pakistan's invasion of Kashmir in 47 and how Srinagar was saved by Brigadier Rajinder Singh. So that is coming at 5 o'clock today and at 7 o'clock tomorrow, the Hindi version.
In
with
the
the
weekend.
first one in the weekend. And Saturday, we are having 2 shows each on the English channel of the 1965 India-Pakistan war, how it started, why it started, and the entire blow-by-blow account of that war. And next, we will cover the 1971 war to remind India and Indians of what India can do if it makes up its mind, if it prepares properly and then gives it. We had prepared with Russian help. We were fully ready to fight. Pakistan provoked us, needlessly provoked us, and got it back in the neck, lost half its country. The time has come to repeat that civilizational feat, because otherwise we will have no peace. Because as long as you don't deal with Pakistan ruthlessly, you know, you can't offer it peace talks and cricket matches and deal when you know that the fact is that this is a country which is implacably hostile. Whatever you do, it will try and dismember you if it gets a chance. So the only way to defend yourself is attack.
That's the final solution that's required with this state that we are having as a neighbor.
Look, I keep saying this is Yuganta. The Kali Yug is supposed to be coming to a close. And at the close of every Yug, there is a Mahabharata. You better get ready for your Mahabharata. That is why we are showing that to arouse the Kshatra Bhav in India and get rid of the Gandhian turn the other cheek crap. We are now, trying to prepare the Indian youth by showing them the military feats of our people since 1947. This is not the India of the 10th century or the 16th century. 16th century onwards, there was a Indian military revival led by Guru Gobind Singh Ji in the Punjab, by Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj in the south, and by General Lachit Borphukan in Assam. And together they destroyed the Mughal Empire in 100 years. We didn't need the British to throw off the yoke of foreign invaders. We did it ourselves. It is just that we were so split up and fighting that the British then ruled for 200 years. But the whole thing has changed. In 1971, India has shown that its military revival is complete. And India is a major military power, nuclear power to reckon with. And if Turkey thinks it can intervene, it may lose Ankara in the nuclear smoke. Beijing is within the range of Indian Agni 5 missiles. So if push comes to shove, these countries who dare attack India may cease to exist. They'll have to think of that, factor that in. And we will give it back now. I think that mood in India is to give it back. And therefore, we are a little surprised as to why, after doing brilliantly in Uri and Balakot, our government is once again going back to talks and ceasefires and cricket. I don't think that is called for. I think India is strong enough to retaliate and retaliate properly.
True, sir. So Yesterday, I had, sir, in one of the college campuses I had visited, and I gave a talk on the Indian business, ancient India economy and business models. And when I saw students, as you're saying, the mood is actually changing. And when I talked to them about the charkha thing, a lot of charkha thing that has entered into their brains during the school days. And they, now that they realize and they start making questions like, if Bharat Mata was something, named after King Bharat, how can a father be born in the 19th century? So the
That's right.
students, the moods are changing, sir. It's actually changing on ground.
You are absolutely correct. I have also been traveling around a lot since these COVID restrictions were lifted. And let me tell you, the people have seen through. You can fool some of the people all the time, all the people some of the time, but you cannot fool all the people all the time. That was what Abraham Lincoln said, that Nehruvian Gandhian narrative, clever by half, has been seen through. We did not get independence because of De Di Hame Ajadi Bina Khadak Bina Dhal. 26,000 men of the INA got martyred fighting for India's freedom. And that is a huge number. We are petitioning the present government to kindly build INA war memorial. And the right place for that is the Red Fort. We were almost there, but somehow now the bureaucrats have thrown in a spanner. So I hope it will come through. We will still have not lost hope. But we now need to understand the real narrative. We must come to terms with the truth. Because if you keep lying to yourself that you got freedom because of ahimsa and the British wept so much that they had to free you. They were so sad that you were doing a fast unto death or whatever. I mean, don't give us a joke. Give us another joke of the day. You see, because please go by the truth. The transfer of power archives in London are now available to any citizen.
True.
Any foreigner. Please go and see them. Read them. They were declassified in 1977. So without seeing the transfer of power archives, the top secret papers of the independence era, how can you come to a conclusion as to how we got our freedom? And the Bipin Chandras of the world, spin masters of the highest order, court historians, trying to suck up to the Nehru-Gandhi dynasty and write hagiographies. We don't need hagiographies, sir. We need history, the truth. And the truth is, you got free because of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose and the Azad Hind Fauj. 60,000 ki force tha, 26,000 died. And so pernicious is the hold of that Gandhian ideology that till today we don't have a war memorial for those 26,000. Netaji, before he passed away, he had constructed a war memorial in Singapore. That was in August that war memorial was completed. He had laid the foundation stone in July. In August, that war memorial was built. In September, Mountbatten and Nehru came to Singapore. The people of Singapore asked Nehru, kindly go and visit that war memorial. And Nehru was about to go when Mountbatten rang him up and told him, Jawahar, you will not go. He sent the army engineers. They wired that whole memorial up and blasted it to bits. But the people of Indian origin in Singapore had the decency, they paid their own money and they rebuilt a memorial to the INA in Singapore. It is only India where you don't have one bloody stone for the Azad Hind Fauj. It is only in India that Mountbatten ensured that not one of these INA soldiers would re-enter the Indian army, that their pension was stopped and they were left to starve and die on the road. It is only the Janta government which restarted their pension in 1977. So, we have to come to terms with our own history. We have to come to terms with our truth. The British created a narrative, British historians like Max Muller and others, that the Aryans are invaders. They came in from there, they slaughtered the Dravidians. What nonsense. The genes north and south of the Vindhyas are the same. Genetics tells you that. Saraswati River they denied. The satellites have picked up the course of the Saraswati River. There's so much scientific evidence that has piled up, but we refuse to change our history because Nehru, Gandhi got it written. And how dare you change that history? Because so many of our poor bureaucrats, the history they passed their IAS exam with is
Based
the
on
history
that.
of Bipin Chandra and Romilla Thapar, if you please. So they are fighting tooth, nail and claw to see that that history cannot change. And 7 years of even our tough government, we have not been able to revise our history books. We need to do that because intellectually we need to free ourselves from the apron strings of the empire. We have to become a world power on our own. And we have the capability, we have the brain, we have the potential. It is time to realize that potential. And for that, you have to be tough.
Thank you, Bakshi ji, for being here. We would want you, as I've told even in the last session, every second and fourth Saturday, we would be loving to have your words of wisdom on the security dialogue, especially with the cultural perspective that you bring for the Indian traditions. Thank you, sir, for being here with us with the Sanatan Shakti channel. And I request viewers to stay tuned with us, subscribe to the channel, and also look forward to the Republic TV, which Bakshi ji is mentioning and putting efforts on putting the stories, the hidden stories of war heroes, the real war heroes on the channel. I mean, this is a blessing for us and the next generation to learn directly from the real stalwarts who have played on the field, put their lives on risk, and won for the country. So stay tuned to Republic TV. Sir has already given you the timing slots for the weekends when that particular show is coming for all the wars. And we need to see, especially even if we are living out what happened before 47, we have with us in real to see and witness what happened post 1947, all the war heroes that has been from this particular soil. So stay tuned to Republic TV and Jai Hind.